Okay, so what I want to do on this episode is I want to, I guess, just hip you guys on to some facts. Stuff that laid the foundation and is the basis of a lot of my information and the ideas and the views that I present. Because a lot of people out here they got it twisted, yo. Like they like, man, like why you be out here like putting yourself out here like that, like talking about all this stuff about aliens and trying to make it sound real and X, Y, and Z. Like, why do you do this? Like, why do you put yourself out here like this? Like, knowing that there's no proof to back it, or knowing that they'll never, really tell the world that aliens exist. Like, why do you do this? And what you guys got to realize is like I'm real. Like, like these people that you see on television and different popular people, these people aren't real. These people are fake, you know? And it's the best kept secret. When I say they're fake, they're literally fake. That's what I'm going to go into in this episode. So it's like for a real young person, somebody that's, young, that has studied over 300 or 400 books, and to go ahead and put yourself out there and put the information that you learn out there is, to me, the most effective way to get other real people to wake up to what's going on. I started doing this before I saw this particular movie, but when I saw this particular movie, I realized I was just like the main character on this particular movie that a friend of mine showed me. And this movie is called They Live. I've talked about this in other videos, and you guys got to, if you haven't seen that movie, you got to watch that movie, because to me it's like an inspiration. And like I said, before I even saw the movie, I mean, I was already kind of like on this guy's particular path. But in this particular movie, it's about a group of extraterrestrial beings that look just like humans that had essentially hijacked the planet. And they were living amongst humans and making them think that they were a part of them. They looked just like humans. You couldn't distinguish this particular extraterrestrial being from a real live human being unless you had these glasses. These They were like sunglasses. And the main character, he found these sunglasses in like a garbage can, right? And he just happened to put them on or whatever. And once he put these sunglasses on, he started to see that these beings that looked like humans were actually like green, reptilian or insectilian looking type of beings, but you couldn't see them unless you had on these sunglasses. Now, mind you, this movie came out back in the 70s, long time ago. Why back in the 70s, and it's still now, here it is, 2015 going into 2016, and we still have a hard time accepting the fact that extraterrestrials are living and walking amongst us. And it's even worse than that, because the agenda has went to another level, and it's past that. That was back in the 70s when they successfully did experiments to clone and breed themselves to look more like human beings so that they can live amongst the population. And like the master teacher taught us, they began to even put out certain hairstyles, like and put out certain music and things of that nature, so that humans would become dumbed down and humans would begin to look, I guess you could say, weird or alien type, so that they could blend in amongst humans a lot easier. Like, say for instance, like the hairstyle back in the day that a lot of punk rockers used to rock or whatever. They used to rock like the mohawk, and they still rock the mohawk to this day. But what people fail to realize is the mohawk was actually a particular hairstyle that not only goes back to Native American culture, but the Native Americans learned about this hairstyle and got this hairstyle from living and learning from a group of extraterrestrial beings. And when they got initiated into this particular extraterrestrial beings order, they began to rock this mohawk, right? So that's where the mohawk came from. So just stuff like that, like they created a culture. Extraterrestrials had to create a culture that was conducive for them to thrive in. And it's even deeper to this day. So like when like when people send shots to me, I'm not worried about that type of stuff. Like, I'm not worried about putting myself out there or whatever, because they know this stuff is real. You know, like I've met people that, for the most part, have said they were extraterrestrials. For the most part, so like this is nothing new. Like this is nothing. This has been going on since the '70s, and the agenda has gotten even deeper. And that's what I want to cover on this particular episode because we are on the verge of now to where like biological life is getting ready to become obsolete, and it's happening quicker than what you think it is. There's an agenda that's based on control to where anything that's biological, especially starting with human beings, they want to totally get rid of these particular human beings from the surface of the planet. Why? Because human beings have something called free will and choice, and they can't control real live organic human beings because they have free will and choice. So they want to replace human beings with technology. And you may say, well, they don't have the technology to do this. You know, like that's maybe going to happen 100 years down the line. We haven't got to that point yet. And I've been watching this particular show that I want to do a few episodes and talk about once I get through it. But me and my lady friend, we've been watching this particular show called Fringe, and it's a really deep show or whatever. And you watch that show and you're going to see they got the technology to do a lot of stuff that you don't even realize. And they putting this stuff in. I mean, this is a scientifically backed, from my perspective, a scientifically backed movie based upon dark matter, extraterrestrial phenomenon, based on occult phenomenon, essentially, that they're just keeping from the public. And actually, I don't even think the show is on anymore. So they got the technology to do a lot of stuff. And it's just you guys that don't know about it. So you guys are going around pointing the finger, calling people crazy. So this episode is just for the person that's like, I like getting into your videos, about karma, and when you talk about more grounded topics. And I know I said I was going to talk about astrology, and that series is coming, but I had to intervene because of some of my dreams that I've been having and things that have been coming to me. I have to make this episode because we're on the verge of getting conquered, man. And not just by extraterrestrial, because like I said, they already exist, by artificial intelligence. You got to ask yourself, here are some facts, that I want you guys to just think about. You got to ask yourself, how come, or like they say in the hood, why come after the Roswell crash, when that situation happened in Roswell, all of a sudden we had this leap, in technology. Why is that? Why after the Roswell crash did all of a sudden all of this stuff you just see popping up or whatever, as far as like technology, like television got better, everything, technology got off the chain after the Roswell crash. But if you think about prior to that, in comparison to now, it's like we were living in the dark ages. So like, why did we live in the dark ages for all of this time? You got to think humans been on the planet all of this time, and then all of a sudden one day we just had this quantum leap, and all of a sudden now we're designing all of this technology, the internet and things of this nature. Where did this come from? How did we figure this out? This is because when the Roswell crash happened, the particular scientists or the military that found this craft, and this is something I've been knew a long time ago. This is something that William Cooper taught us in Behold a Pale Horse. They did back engineering on that particular craft. You should get that book, Behold a Pale Horse, by the way. Great book. They did back engineering on that particular craft that crashed down in Roswell, New Mexico, or whatever it is. And when they did back engineering, they figured out how all of this craft was operating, the technology that it was operating. It didn't run off of fuel. You see, like it ran off of the science of antimatter and the science of basically tapping into the atmosphere for energy. So they figured out all this stuff back in the 50s, and this is why they began to make smartphones and androids and things of that nature. And I've talked about this like, a million times before or whatever. This is why they began to make these things, because this is where they got it from, because of the fact that that craft crash and they were able to do back engineering. Now, another thing you got to ask yourself, these are just facts. Why does the military and the government have laws governing unidentified flying objects? And not just, when I say unidentified flying objects, I'm not speaking of objects that planes and stuff that may be from another government that find themselves in this particular airspace. I'm talking about like unidentified flying objects that no government can identify, because you got to remember airspace. Even though the U.S. has the U.S. Air Force, and they have the U.S. the Air National Guard and things of that nature, but they have an intricate file sharing system to where, like, if it's an object flying, and if it's, say for instance, it's an object that was designed, say for instance, in Japan, and it just finds itself over here in the U.S., or if it goes and finds itself in Russia, they have a way of information sharing intel, so they'll know if that particular object is on its way to another airspace that's governed by another government. But what I'm speaking of, when they said they got laws governing unidentified flying objects that no government can seem to pinpoint and track down. See, this is stuff you need to think about. So if extraterrestrials aren't real, and there's a lot of laws on file in reference to this. I mean, a lot of, like, this is, of course, high-tech, top-secret stuff that William Cooper, of course, spoke about in his book, Behold the Pale Horse, and Phil Schneider and other people like that. But, yeah, this stuff is real. They have governments, I mean, they have laws, essentially protecting airspace, because if a particular alien craft comes here, they don't, and they don't want to alarm the people in X, Y, and Z, they'll just send a message, to one particular government and let them know it's an extraterrestrial craft, and we haven't identified this particular object, and, make sure you keep this particular area, like, keep this away from the public and keep this away from the population. So why would they waste their time in writing laws on this? Why would the Egyptians have what looks like UFOs on their particular pyramid walls? A long time ago, they drew crafts and things of that nature that look like UFOs and disc-shaped vehicles. Why? Are people just making this stuff up? Is this a dream? Why is there a website, where all of these extraterrestrial events are documented? People got videos showing crafts flying up and down in the place or whatever. I remember when I was in Midland, Texas, I saw a UFO. I've seen crafts very often. I mean, on a yearly basis, I mean, I probably see 10 to 15 crafts that I believe are UFOs, because I see crafts that they're here, then they disappear, then they reappear, they're like blinking. And I'm not talking about the lights. I'm talking about this is in broad daylight. I've seen this. I'm not just saying lights appearing and disappearing, because that could be, military and things of that nature. But I'm talking about crafts that appear and then they disappear. So, like, why is all of this happening? And where is this going to? And that's what I want to get into now. See, this is headed somewhere. This is headed towards, like I said, basically a nation of robots. And it's already happening. You idolize these rock stars, and you idolize people on television, you idolize these actors and things of that nature. But what you fail to realize is that a lot of these particular things are not human. They don't have a sex. These are real live androids. These are robots, essentially. These news anchors is giving you the news. These are robots. The reason why I know is because the news, see, a lot of you guys don't know this, the news is created as life happens. Like for instance, what I'm saying is that they don't have news stories, like, say for instance, when a news anchor comes on, he's on television talking, and they give him a set of things to report for that particular hour that he or she may be on television, and they report those things. That's not how the news works. The news is created as life happens. And they pipe this into the robot's head that's speaking to you. Yeah, these people on CNN and all that, these are robots. They're not real. And they pipe this into their head as things happen, then they'll just start talking about something as it happens. The reason why I know is because a lot of these crisis actor stories that happen are based upon real events and real people and real stuff that's going on. And when it goes down, they'll just pipe it right in. They'll just pipe the story right in, like, as the news is going on. So say, for instance, something that's happening in Japan right now that's really happening, and the news anchor may be speaking on something that's happening in California, a storm or disaster, and then they get intel that something's going on in Japan. They'll hurry up and create a crisis story, send that message directly to this news anchor's head, and he'll just start talking about that. He'll just switch the news up and just start talking about what's going on, or she'll just switch the news up and start talking about what's going on in Japan, or a particular crisis that's going on in Japan. This is because this is a conspiracy. You see, because these are particular Borgs, and they create a false reality for you, a fake world. This is what I mean by I'm real. This is not real. And more, how many people out here, you guys that's watching this video, how many of you watch the news thinking that it's real? Like, you want to see what's going on, current events and facts, right? You feel like this is the only place I can't go to the church and get facts. I can't go here or go there, so maybe I can't watch Jerry Springer and get facts. I can't watch these talk shows to get facts. I can't watch cheaters and get facts. So let me just turn on the news so I can get some real information. That it's not real. Stuff that goes on in the news is not real, even down to when people get shot and things of that nature. It's based on true events. This is art. It's predicated based upon real events, don't get me wrong, but it is not real, guys. And what's going to happen is that if we're not careful, we're going to allow these Borgs to take over the world. This is how Atlantis fell. I shut down this video talking about this. Atlantis got all into this technology thing. Like, they got you all in your phone, you see. And while you in your phone, they taking in data through the phone about how you think and creating algorithms predicated upon how you think. And one day, once they don't need you anymore, even if you're a top flight engineer, computer specialist, and you're an inventor or something, I'm talking about the high level people in society. And you all on your phone when you get off work, you all on a computer, that's all you do is spend all this time. They create algorithms. That's what they're doing. And it's different programs behind it. You see, there's a company that owns Google. They say Google's behind it, but there's another company that owns Google. It's this think tank that owns Google, and they're the ones behind it. And I'll do a video talking about that at another time or whatever. And it's based upon a secret society that owns Google. And they saying that because Google has this technology where they create these algorithms, how you think, and then the ads that you see on the side and stuff like that, this is based upon how you think. So these drones and robots are taking over, and once they don't need you anymore, they're going to replace you. They're already dumbing you down in school. People that go to school, they're not teaching you what you used to learn in school a few years ago. You're not learning the type of mathematics that I learned when I was in high school. Those of you that are in high school, you're learning you're learning some fake created type of mathematics or whatever based upon where you can just go online and get the answers, really, and basically you can be dumb to make it through school now because you got your phone. You can just get on Google and get anything you want, any answer that you want. So everything's becoming obsolete. Government is becoming obsolete. You see, the next president probably will be a Borg. That's what you guys better realize. They're going to have to support the Borg agenda. You see, that's what people better realize. The next president may even be a hologram. And the real person going to be somewhere eating potatoes or stay chilling, watching his hologram be the president while he somewhere doing business, doing something else. Because being the president is just going to turn into a business. It already really has. Really, and that's what people fail to realize. So this is what happened in Atlantis. And what ended up happening in Atlantis is that the Atlanteans lost their world, and Atlantis was eventually destroyed by very high extraterrestrial beings that had an invested interest in biological life. Real life, not robo-toys, but biological life. And they had an invested interest in making sure that biological life thrived. And this began to cease to exist, and all biological life was moved into the center of the earth. And eventually Atlantis was destroyed. And this is what's going to happen to you. You're going to lose your earth to these computers and these Borgs. Everything is based on a timer. Your money is based on a computer. There's no real life money anymore. People don't count money anymore to be an accountant. It's all based on a computer. You're going to lose this world, and mark my words, the next president will be a Borg. Will be a hologram. That's what you fail to realize. It's not going to be anything real about this particular president that comes into existence. Straight up and forward. You may say, well, you got these people running for president, so are you saying that one of them is a Borg or whatever the case may be? What you guys feel like, you don't know who's going to be the next president. I've already seen these things in visions and dreams. You don't really know what's about to go down. You see, these people that are running for president are a part of a think tank. And no matter who wins, they're going to control the next president because it's going to be a robot. And it's going to be a compilation of all of those candidates that you see doing debates. There's only one person that's right now trying to run for president that's real. Put it that way. There's only one person. And I'm not going to say who it is on this particular episode because I'm going to wait for this to play out. But mark my words. What they're doing now with these debates is taking in the data from these candidates that are debating, getting their ideas, the way they think, and things of that nature, seeing how the public responds and how they like a particular individual that's running for president, or a particular elected official, and they're going to compile a software program based upon all of these different candidates and they're going to insert it into this particular Borg, and this particular Borg is going to be a compilation of all of those candidates that you see. Some people say they want to see a female president. All of this is going to be someone everybody appeals to. And then they're going to make this particular person president. And this is coming in 2016. There's only one real person that can win the election and stop this. Of which probably won't even, I don't know if they're going to win or not, because guess what? The election is controlled by computers. See where I'm getting at? All of this is controlled by computers. And it started with banking. We started with banking. The internet came from banking. It's called BankNet. And this is where they got the concept of the internet from, doing exchanges, currency exchanges through the air. This is where they created air traffic from. All of this came from the Roswell crash, y'all. Essentially, all of this. And don't get me wrong, there were other extraterrestrial crashes before that, but most of this technology that we see popularized came from the Roswell crash, and you guys are selling your soul every day to it. You talk about entertainers and things of that nature. You're selling your soul to it. So if you're real, the only thing you could do, if you're a real individual, is become proactive in exposing what you know, if that's how you want to do it, or just if you're a particular athlete or whatever, because you got to remember, there's athletes that aren't real. They got to do rituals. I didn't mean to make this video long, but there's so much with this whole agenda. They got to do rituals once they get so high up to where they got to take on robotic parts, computerized parts. They may be half real and half robot, because you got some people walking around like that. They got to take on robotic parts so they can play better, so that they can be accurate. They got athletes out there that can always hit a home run, that can always make a basket, they can always shoot a three-pointer, all the time, every time they try. 100% accurate, guaranteed. You see, that's what people fail to realize. It's an agenda, man. It's a robotic agenda, and it's real. And it's going on in the news, in the media. It's going on in the sports arena. It's going on in religion. You can't run from it. So you need to start studying these things. And then I would like my next videos that are coming on after this will be talking about astrology and how you can cheat this. The only way to beat a robot is to cheat. That's what your free will is. Your free will gives you the ability to cheat. Because robots are so-called perfect. They always do what they're programmed to do. So the only way to beat a robot is to cheat it and to outthink it. Not really to outthink it, but to cheat it, because robots don't think, they're just programmed. But the only way you can cheat it is if you know the basis of how this robot is programmed. That's what I'm trying to tell you. It's all based on these algorithms. You see, so start watching the ads when you get on Facebook and Twitter, and start watching stuff that's going around you, because they're collecting data and sending you things and showing you things based upon how they think you think and what they believe you'll feed into. It's a Borg agenda, and it's real, man. This is real shit. So I'm going to go ahead and shut this video down. Next particular episode, we'll be covering some astrology and things of that nature. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for watching. I'm out. Keep it real.